Greetings and welcome to the Mount Rushmore podcast. My name is Jeff, and I'm joined, as always, by my good friend. Wait a minute. We are rebooting the podcast for this episode. We are rebooting it because we want to have a number one to inflate sales of this comic, and we are going to reboot it. We're going to have our special guest characters in here. They are Cynthia Rose and Kirsten Bazio. How are you?
I'm feeling great. Good to be a diversity hire.
Oh my God. You are really kind of an expert consultant on all things pop culture, both of you. So it's more than, I guess diversity would mean actually intelligible and smart versus the schmucks who are normally on this podcast. And that is Michael Winfield and Richard Manfredi.
Howdy. What? Wait, what?
I'd like to open with an insult.
Jeff, we just got recast right away, and I don't feel comfortable at this.
And a very fuck you to you, Jeff.
Yeah,
just keeping you guys on your toes.
We just got retconned out of our own podcast, Michael, and it is what it is.
Well, so now they're on our podcast, but you know them from their podcast, which is Masters of the Obvious. And gosh, press pause on this thing right now and go give a listen to some past episodes of that podcast, because they have all kinds of wonderful guests. Educate us, Cynthia or Kirsten, and who has been on your podcast before and what topics you've had.
We've had Kelly Sue DeConnick on, and Trina Robbins. Who else have we had, Kirsten?
Well, and Kelly Sue especially was a huge get for us because she gave us Carol Danvers as
Yes.
Captain Marvel in the comic books. She actually was a consultant on the movie as well. So she was a delight to have on. And of course, if you're familiar with her husband, Matt Fraction, who does Hawkeye and Sex Criminals, like a powerhouse family. So it was cool to have them on. Trina Robbins, the second woman to ever illustrate Wonder Woman, even though she's kind of known as the first, but there's some technicality there. She also helped design Vampirella's outfit and is like a historian of cartoonists, female cartoonists. We had Max Bemis on. We were talking about X-Men earlier. He did an X-Men comic, and he did Moon Knight, and he has a bunch of indie stuff and is the lead singer of Say Anything. Oh God, who else? We had some YouTubers on.
Yeah, and we're working on the first episode of season 2, and we have actress Rose McIver on. She's our next guest, and she's amazing.
That is pretty amazing. I have had some comic I did an open mic in North Hollywood with as a guest, so that's how the elite guests that we've been pulling. But nice. What are we going to chat about? We're going to chat about a lot of different things, and it's going to meander just a little bit. But one thing that is chief on our minds is the series WandaVision. And in a few episodes, this will drop on Thursday, and so we'll have an episode that I think drops that night. But we have a few more episodes until we find out what's the deal with Westview. What is this world that's being created? Where is it coming from? And
I love the idea that maybe Jerry Seinfeld is coming into here.
What's the deal with Westview? No man. And it was Snapple bottles appearing for everywhere. No, so we're going to find out, and it will put an end to perhaps to some of the guesswork that is happening out in the blogoverse and universe and fanverse about WandaVision and fan theories and stuff like that. So we're going to talk about some fan theories, but along the way, I think it would be fun to discuss opportunities that Marvel or other of the big two or indie comics publishers have taken to reboot characters, whether it's just to generate sales, or whether it's to re-envision in a cool new way these characters. And we know Wanda and Vision were both kind of rebooted in the MCU, and how that spilled over into the comics and all that kind of stuff. So we're going to discuss some of the fan theories. So I want to start by asking our masters of the obvious persons to let us know which of the fan theories regarding WandaVision are your favorites, and maybe just give us one that you like.
Well, a big one that's actually confirmed now is that it is based off of House of M. Do you remember in the trailer, they were really excited. Everyone was super excited to point out all the Easter eggs. And when they were first episode, they were pouring that bottle of wine, and it was a French phrase, and it had a big M, and everyone was like, "It's based off of House of M," but it wasn't confirmed. But that's confirmed now.
Wow,
Okay,
I didn't know
cool.
that was confirmed.
It is.
For the layman who don't know, the House of M storyline was one based on Scarlet Witch basically using her reality altering properties to remove 98%, even more so, of mutants from the Marvel comic book
Her
universe.
famous line was "No more mutants."
Yes.
Yeah.
And this came after something called, I believe it was called the Decimation, where 16 million mutants were killed by Sentinel. So there weren't a lot of mutants to begin with, but she just kind of came along and even reduced it even further, reducing it down to 198 in the Marvel universe, which is it's not even a species. It's an idea. And
well, technically, they're not even human. Do you remember when Marvel won the case? It was against Toy Biz, because I think they were the case was whether or not X-Men were humans. So they would pay an extra tax on if they were human figurines.
Whoa,
and they
really?
won, and they're not human, so they got to pay like half the tax price on to make those toys.
That seems just like a tax dodge at
Yeah.
that point. They're not even like, yeah.
They had to release a statement not too long ago to kind of like pedaling back on that. Like, no, they're humanoids, guys.
One
They're not,
thing
like,
that I
furries
love,
or something.
whether we learn whether this is something that is revealed in the final kind of reveal of what's going on, is that Scarlet Witch and Wanda have this incredible amount of power that fans of the comics know, but fans of the MCU see her as this person who's in a battlefield doing some hocus pocus, or she is an incidental character who's kind of moving plot points along. And her tragic loss of her partner is a huge thing. But I don't know if anybody who is just an MCU observer will know the incredible power she has over the reality and the things that are happening. And so I think that's a cool thing that's happening in WandaVision right now. Michael, do you have any fan theories that you've skimmed on the web, or that you've held on your own?
Well, one thing that I think I've been interested to see is the vision aspect of it. And at the end of Infinity War, when Thanos kind of pulls the mind gem out of Vision, he kind of loses all color, as one does when one dies, but he literally lost his color when he went from red and green and yellow to kind of like this kind of grayish, just this kind of, he just looked like bone and looked like a tombstone. It was just so sad, but they never really talk about him in Endgame or any of the other films. Not that they would, because it was, they've only had like 2 other movies since the kind of the phase 3 thing wrapped up. But Vision coming back into this, he's been this very jovial, interesting character, when in the comic books he is often portrayed as very stoic and very robotic. And one thing that I saw was that kind of the semi-protagonist bad guy, the guy that is probably not ultimately the main bad guy because it would be too obvious. I don't know his name, Harrington, something like that. The white government guy that's running the whole operation.
Oh, Director Hayward.
Hayward,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
The Darcy character kind of hacked into his network and pulled up some folder, and it was called Cataract. And as people have been speculating, that Cataract and Vision, which means it's white and cloudy. So I wonder if the theory is that the Vision that is going to emerge out of this, whatever this is going to be a more robotic, more completely white colored character that's more attuned to what he was like for much of his kind of existence in the Marvel comics. And I think that's really interesting. I think that is a clever way to get him back to this other kind of iconic look for a comic book character.
That was a really cool play on words. to the cataracts and vision.
Yeah.
Didn't catch on to that.
Well, we talked about it on like our last podcast with our guest Jim Coughlin, and he was talking about how, and Richard, I think you talked about it too, how Marvel is so good at kind of holding the hands of new people who are watching these movies and experiencing these characters for the first time, but then really paying off to people who have been reading comics for any amount of time, whether it's 1 year or 60 years or however long you've been enjoying these characters. And something like that is just it is just like it's nerd bait. It's just like I can't wait to see what Paul Bettany as the Vision would look like, just completely white and on screen, and it would look so weird and iconic and just like just wonderful.
And he was
It's
credited
really
as the
cute
Vision.
when they do fan service like that. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
He was credited as the Vision in this last episode too.
That's interesting.
Why is Viz short for Vision? Why don't they call him Vij?
Why don't they
That's
call him
catchy.
Onion?
That's deep.
That's the real question. One thing I love, I think, piggyback on what you said, is that for the first 3 episodes, it was profoundly about pop culture in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. And you were pulling in an audience that had been perhaps fatigued by the MCU and the patterns that they'd created in these films. You pull in these people that don't need to know anything about Wanda or Vision. They can know a little bit and they get pulled in. So that, I think, is a big victory. And then knowing the context, this is on TV, on cable, on Disney Plus. So you have to play to the room. So I think that Marvel is doing a pretty good job of that. Okay, Pietro recast. Why? Do we know why? Who knows why?
There's a
You
lot
know,
of theories about
Yeah,
that.
there's a lot of
too.
theories about that. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it could be that Pietro has been recast because he has been sent in there as a spy for Sword. That's
Mhm.
one of the theories that I've heard. I'll throw that one out there. It could be just as simple as how do we get the X-Men mutants world into the Marvel universe, and this is kind of sort of going to be the way to do that. There's several ways you could do it. That could be one.
I
Okay.
think that's an
Yeah.
excellent, like a really masterful, very MCU way to tie it all together.
And bring in the multiverse.
Yeah, we're gonna get Wanda in Multiverse of Madness, so
Mhm.
it's,
Oh,
it's
that's right.
all perfectly falling into place.
Well, let me ask this question: if we know now that this is sort of based on House of M, does that mean the Mephisto is going to be the ultimate bad guy here? Because
He's always the ultimate bad guy.
Well,
He's the
that's-
MCU's devil.
that's true. I'd read a few theories because the term nightmare had been used several times in this last episode.
Nightmare's helmet ends up in the title sequence in the 2nd episode.
Right, I had seen that as well. So that I'm kind of curious of whether they're going to stick with the pure House of M route, or whether they're bringing Nightmare in as sort of whether it's a secondary bad guy or someone who's directly responsible for this. I don't know what your guys' thoughts are on this.
I don't think the MCU ever does a direct translation of a comic book. I think actually most properties, most IPs do it. I mean, Star Wars did it with like the quote unquote not canon novels that they borrowed a hell of a lot from. So I think that they're just kind of cherry picking things that they like. I don't think it's going to completely play out like House of M at all. I think they're going to borrow from each little property and throw it together in a weird little pizza. But
Do you-
fun little
you know,
toppings.
One thing that I enjoyed about the latest episode, I guess this is meaning episode 6. So for those who are hearing this on Thursday, it's not episode 7. Was that it worked for me as a very special Halloween episode of a sitcom. Like it had all the trappings of that Halloween episode of that show that you love or tolerate, or in that
Tolerate.
in that like everything was the bright shiny version of Halloween. I love Halloween episodes of sitcoms because the costumes in real life are all janky and thrown together at the last minute. The costumes on TV shows are ordered from Western Costume and they're all perfect, or they were sewn precisely for the characters by professional wardrobe people. So I loved how well that episode worked on just the base level of entertainment, and then folding in the plot developments and the way in which the world was literally growing bigger. I also love one thing I love about WandaVision. It took two people that are two characters, the Jimmy Woo and Darcy Lewis characters, two people who I just kind of liked that were underused in their franchises, and pulled them into this just to be people to sit around with me and wonder WTF is happening. So that's something that's like working huge for me. And I realize that's not a fan theory or anything like that.
I think it's really great when they insert the audience avatar into it,
Yeah.
because we need to have someone to relate to and have like a security blanket while our complete like ideology is torn apart limb for limb.
Yeah.
Like everything we believe in, and like a trap door opens and you fall through. That's what WandaVision feels like right now. So it's good to have that character you relate to and you see things kind of through their eyes.
Yeah.
Also,
And
it's really funny that Darcy is like a physicist, but also a computer hacker out of nowhere.
yeah. Yeah.
All physicists.
But
know
I
how to
love
hack a
Mary
computer.
Sue, so what are you
Yeah.
gonna do? Everyone's
Exactly.
a Mary Sue in Star Wars and Marvel. Like, come on, we're not gonna explain this in a logical way.
I also thought
One
it
of
was
the
kind of fun that Catherine Hahn got to kind of dial into the dramatic part of her character, because she was the crazy sitcom neighbor in
Mhm.
3 different decades for the last 4 episodes. So it's kind of fun to see her kind of pulled into that. What were you to say, Michael?
And being hella sus too. She is so sus.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Okay,
we
is-
all
okay.
know who that is, right?
That's Agnes, right? It has to be
Yeah,
Agnes.
has
I mean,
say
when you
Agatha.
talk about the Halloween episode, the fan service of the costumes, and she's wearing the
Agatha, right.
witch costume. I
Mhm.
mean,
Go.
One thing,
Baileys.
what I was going to say is one thing that I've really liked about the show is, it's kind of traipsing through the history of sitcoms from I Love Lucy / kind of Dick Van Dyke to Bewitched, and a very obvious note to the Brady Bunch and Full House. It was totally unexpected that the opening of the show for this last week, episode 6, I think, was this Malcolm in the Middle kind of. It was perfect for like a time period of. I don't know. It was so like everything they captured about it was perfect, from the little commercial, like the kind of fruit, the fruit chew shark in the water commercial was so very 90s, or kind of late period 90s, to the Malcolm in the Middle in your face thing. And it's the theory that I've been thinking of is like, what are they going to do next? What is like the next version of the sitcom? Is it going to be like an Office type, handheld documentary style sitcom that they're going to do? I've been trying to figure out what the next sitcom episode, because I don't think they're going to do that for like the final episode. I think whatever it is, I don't know how long it's running, or it's 8 or 10 episodes. It's going to probably 9 episodes. It's probably going to wrap up with a big kind of like, all these barriers are going to be broken. But I think that like they still have another like decade of sitcoms to go through, and I think it's going to be kind of like that, The Office, or
I think it's going to be a direct call. And I think it's going to be a direct reference to Modern Family.
Modern Family. There you go. There's that was the one that was on the tip of my tongue. It was just like that's handheld, and it just kind of going around with this family as if you're existing in their real life. But it will be, and I think it'll be interesting. I think it'll be they've surprised me, definitely.
Okay, of all the fan theories, what is there one that you want it to be?
Who are you asking?
Yeah, you,
Oh,
Kirsten.
the
Do you
room.
want me to just rattle off?
Yeah,
I-
lay it on us. Yeah.
Listen, L.com did the work for me. They
Thank you.
said WandaVision, all the theories that could happen next.
Do I have this episode? Do I have that up right now? Absolutely, I do.
Yeah, here we go.
Usually it's
baby.
Usually it's Wikipedia that we use as our Bible. So I'm glad we're bringing Elle into the mix.
We diversify.
We're mostly Cosmo girls, but today it's Elle. I mean,
Yeah.
You know,
Wait, let
Harper's
me rate.
Bazaar is not cutting it today for those nerd news.
no Teen Vogue.
So we covered House of M, which is a whole goddamn thing. You did a good job summarizing it, Michael. Mephisto would be a major player in it, and I hope to God they're going to bring Mephisto to the show because I would like a spicy, sexy devil, kind of like in. I feel like I'm young enough that my sexual awakening could have been the devil in Powerpuff Girls.
Okay. Not Tim Curry in
Him?
Legend or anything.
He's so sexy, and for what? And for what? It's a kid's cartoon. Anyway, I hope Mephisto comes back. I hope that he's vaguely gay. And I also, because I don't know how else we got her kids into the show. Like, I don't think she could manifest that on her own because in the comics she had used shards from Mephisto to create them. So, I mean, maybe they've
My
got good
favorite
writers. Maybe they have
theory
even better explanation.
is that everyone is Mephisto. Like, is it Pietro? Is it
Everybody.
Agnes? It's
We're
everybody.
Mephisto.
Sure, you Mephisto, I'm Mephisto.
Theory number 2 is very vague. Elle, you're not coming in clutch right now. Theory number 2 is Wanda is the show's villain. Do you guys agree with that?
I think she is. She has suffered pain. She is the victim. She is a victim, but she is imprisoning everybody in her fantasy.
Yeah, I think it depends on what your definition of villain is. Whether or not someone who has experienced this incredible PTSD at this point, in the timeline of this series, she had only come back from the snap, like days before. There was something weird going on with that timeline that I don't quite understand. But I think it depends on what you think, what your concept of a villain is. Is someone who is trying to do something that they think is good and righteous. Sometimes that makes the best villains, I guess.
Is there something that she's protecting from Hayward capturing it and using it and weaponizing it? And if she manifested Vision, though, then she's the villain. If he's just trying to get this thing, if she brought him into play, is she the villain? But if she's protecting Hayward from weaponizing Vision, is she the hero?
Right.
I happen to think that Scarlet Witch as the villain is kind of the red herring of it. I think it would be too obvious if she was. There was a moment, not this last episode, but I think that in episode 5 where like Vision first kind of taps into the brain of one of his coworkers, and he keeps saying like, "Oh, she's controlling everything. She's doing this," and his immediate thought is Wanda is the one that's controlling everything. But I think that is just a pronoun problem. I don't necessarily think that it is Wanda that is. She may think she's in control of everything, but I think there's probably a higher power, whether it's Mephisto or some other witch, as you mentioned with the Agnes character. I think that there is someone else that is manipulating Wanda in the first place to steal the Vision carcass back and to establish it within the hex and to do all these things that she thinks she is having some aspect of control over her life. But I think that ultimately, I think that is just another facade. I think there's someone else that is doing something to her within this. I don't think that she is the true villain. I think you mentioned the snap. I think she'll snap out of it.
Well, and I think that the fact that when Pietro first shows up, she is very clearly surprised by this and even says, "This, I didn't do this." I think kind of speaks to this idea that there is some other element at work beyond just her powers.
Richard, you've got the list in front of you. Or is there something that you see on that list that you want to bring to light?
Oh, can I touch on
Yes.
her being a villain?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry, Richard.
No, go ahead, please. Please go
The
ahead.
real dick is Kirsten, not Richard. Um, well, I think I agree with Michael that obviously I think that her strings are being pulled. I think that she thinks that she does have a certain amount of control, but so many times during the show she states that she doesn't know. I'm not in control of everything. That huge fight that she had that huge fight that she had with Vision. Um, so yeah, it could be Hayward, it could be Sword, but did you guys see in the IMDb credits in the cast that we're getting James Spader as Ultron back?
Whoa, wow.
Whoa, did not see that. No.
And it could just be the voice of Ultron, but it's James Spader is in the credits now.
Mhm.
And that's how we found out about Petro early too, because of the Evan Peters leak. And because Ultron and Vision are so interconnected, I think he has something to do with it. And I think that I wouldn't be surprised if Ultron isn't completely gone, and either Vision is carrying some of Ultron's conscious, or it's uploaded somewhere else, and that's how Darcy found out when she was doing all the hacking, and why they're so interested in Vision in the Wanda universe more than anyone else, and only tracking him.
I hope it's
my
not just a
wild theory.
flashback. You know, like sometimes they'll put like just a flashback. Like, remember that thing that happened at Sokovia? Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Oh,
Ultron cameo. Woo, 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 back.
and then the Jewish washing of Wanda too. She's a Romani Jew in the books, and now she's not
Oh.
even from there. She's from Sokovia. She's not Jewish,
Yeah.
and this is kind of barely even related, but it really kind of bothers me because that would have been an excellent representation.
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe
Yeah, well-
maybe they're going to bring James Spader back in my assumed when they're going to do a version of The Office as the Robert California role.
There you
Maybe
go.
they'll just have him roll out and do whatever weird thing that he did there that was just perfect for 7 episodes.
I would
Hey-
love to hear him call Hayward a debutante.
Manfredi, whatever. What do you got there in that list?
All right. So, well, not even on the list. These are 2 things that are off the list. First thing, do we think that the aerospace engineer from near New Jersey that Monica Rambeau knows is Reed Richards?
That's-
Richards.
Oh, okay.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
And I'm also thinking it's oh my god, sorry. I'm also thinking that it's John Krasinski, unfortunately, because Cynthia and I already fan casted Reed Richards.
Who did you fan cast as Reed Richards? I'm curious.
Raul Coley.
Who?
Raul Coley from iZombie.
Oh, right. Okay. I know. I didn't know the actor, but I know the show. Yeah, I could definitely see that.
Yeah.
I have my 3 of 4 cast in my head for the Fantastic Four are ridiculous, but it would be I really like the idea of an older Fantastic Four who have been lost in space for a number of years. So I really like the idea of a
Betty
George
White.
Clooney as Mr. Fantastic. I really like Elizabeth Banks as Invisible Woman because I think that she can be funny and stern and really cool. And I like the idea of H. John Benjamin as just the voice of Ben Grimm, aka the Thing. And it doesn't matter for me for Johnny Storm. It could be literally any young
Oh,
Chris
actor.
Evans.
Yeah, it could be Chris Evans
That's a
again.
good
But
idea.
I just love I think mostly I just love the idea of just like Coach McGurk as the Thing, as someone that you just all you need is a voice. You need someone to be kind of schlubby, that gets turned into a big rock man.
I mean, he's
Not
already
just Michael
voiced.
Chiklis in a wig and outfits.
No, H. John
Bald.
Benjamin's already voiced a can. So if you can voice a can,
If you can voice a
the Thing.
can, you can voice a thing.
Yeah.
Are you looking forward to what at the beginning of it? Here we are talking about Fantastic Four. Is there anything else we want to talk about in terms of fun reboots, a character envisions that we've seen happen in the past? Like I Marvel Comics for me as a kid was 2 characters. It was Spider-Man, but also it was Iron Man. So the fact that that Marvel Studios came out big with Iron Man, even though he wasn't like a tier character, who's kind of a lower level character, that was just gold for me. For me, he was always one of the biggest Marvel characters, even though reality, I knew he wasn't the biggest selling character.
According to him, he's the biggest.
According to him,
Sure.
to him. But I
Even
think
though he's a wee little man.
it was also brilliant to come out with a character that, like Bruce Wayne, didn't get his powers from gamma rays or whatever, or from a planet that he came from. They were made by his own ingenuity. But I am mega excited for Ironheart. Like seeing the Riri Williams is the coolest character. Like I can't wait for that. I want, when I started reading that comic was after I think Iron Man 2, I saw the movie, and I wanted my favorite comic character to go away so we could have Ironheart now. It's like, is there anything else that you guys would love to see happen in the MCU? Because I'm actually so worried about the Fantastic Four. I'm just worried it's gonna suck ass and would not be that thing that
what would
is.
make you think that they've done so well with it in the past.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How could they go wrong? How could they go wrong?
You know, if Reed Richards isn't Monica Rambeau's friend, it could always be Riri Williams, Ironheart. She is
That's
an
true.
expert.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that. Okay. Other reboots, other things you would be excited for.
I'm excited for the Young Avengers. It seems like they're setting that all up, introducing Wanda's kids.
Mm-hmm.
Little Wiccan,
Oh, wow.
little
And-
Hulkling.
I think it's a long shot, but if Riri's the expert that Monica is bringing in, then we've got like half of the Young Avengers.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Michael or Richard, is there any in the past a reboot that you've seen with characters? I would also say, like, I'm a big Jason Aaron fan as a writer, and anything he's done with Thor, anything he's done with Wolverine, I've always loved to see how he re-envisions those things.
I would say that I was gonna say I would say Pet Avengers. If we can get that launched as a movie, I'm on board with that.
Definitely, whatever they're going to do with the X-Men, I think is going to be pretty interesting and different from what they've done. And I just want to see a 5'3" Wolverine. I just want to. I want to time travel and just get Glenn Danzig back into the
Thank you.
fold.
Thank you. I've been
I want-
shouting this for years.
I want
Love
a
a
tiny,
short king. We love a
tiny,
short
ugly,
king.
hairy man to just come in and just tear ass as like Wolverine. I don't know. I think the part of the problem is that Wolverine became so dominant in the 90s and early 2000s that like all the stories revolved around him, the same way weirdly in like the 2000s or the 2010s that all the stories started revolving around Mystique as like I guess so. I don't know, these kind of like the side characters. I just want a really good like Cyclops and Jean Grey story that like it doesn't end in like the Phoenix Saga right away. Like
Okay.
if that takes like 15 years, I want them to start with like the five original X-Men and slowly build up over a long time.
They
But
just had a
they're not gonna do
surplus
it.
of
It's
blue
gonna-
ink.
Yeah.
They had too much blue ink.
Too
They're
much
just
blue
trying to
ink.
use it all.
Here's my.
I think
Kevin
ultimately what
Feige-
they had, what they ultimately had with the Mystique was that they just, they had a good looking, Rebecca Romaine naked all the time, and then that transferred into, what's her name?
Lawrence.
Jennifer Lawrence blowing up as an actress, and like, oh, she's suddenly the Academy Award winner, Jennifer Lawrence, or Academy Award nominee, and then her part has to expand. It's like, wasn't it about Professor X and
Mm.
Are
Magneto?
you sure they didn't just have a blue man fetish?
There's that too. There's a lot of blue X-Men out there.
I have two pitches. Kevin Feige, I know he listens to this podcast because why wouldn't he? Here are my two pitches. It takes place in a hospital with all the doctors from the Marvel universe working at a hospital. It's called Marvel Medical.
So you got
Okay.
Night Nurse.
You got Night Nurse, she's there. Dr. Doom, pediatrician. Dr. Octopus,
Ock. Uh-huh.
OBGYN. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's
I
the
don't
joke.
know. I think there's a hospital sitcom where all
Dr.
the doctors
Stephen
are-
Strange.
Doctor Strange, psychiatrist. I don't know what is he. Also,
Just
okay,
surgeons.
other pitch. The radioactive spider that bites Peter Parker gains good math skills and the inability to talk to girls.
Well, he didn't bite the spider.
What? No, the spider
didn't
could have.
bite the
There's a transition of
Oh, I see.
fluids.
Okay.
Like transfer of fluids, yes. Viscosity happens, and then things
yeah.
go back and forth. Yeah.
PM me Kevy. I'll tell you tell Disney where to send the check.
Nice.
I'd
What
like
about
to
a,
propose everything
go
that
ahead.
Jeff said, but replace all the characters with Muppets except for one.
Okay. Ooh, okay, perfect. Damn it. Okay, now I have to send the check to you. As soon as I get the check, I'm gonna endorse it and I'll mail it to you. Cynthia, what were you gonna
You
say?
can have the 600. I'll keep the 12.
Oh, okay.
No Sesame Street characters though.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So like an X-Files, but with Jimmy Woo, I think would be a really fun
Oh yeah.
show as well.
Oh, that's great. That's funny. Jimmy Woo rhymes with Scooby-Doo, which was the X-Files before
There you go.
the X-Files.
Making
Okay,
magic.
guys. Well, what else do we want to do or say or talk about or discuss before we wrap it up? Any thoughts?
Let's just to jump
Do you
back.
want? Should we theorize what we think will happen in WandaVision, or do I want to talk
I
about
would love
something
it.
else entirely?
No, I love it. I
No,
love it.
let's go with that. Yeah, perfect.
Okay. Winfield, what do you got? What do you theorize?
Oh, I think I'm going to go with I think Vision's going to come out of this thing just cold and heartless and working for the government, and Wanda's going to survive and go off. And I don't know. I don't have a really interesting thing. I just want to see that visual of Vision is kind of like this kind of marble stone statue, but an anti Paul Bettany, anti engaging, just
All
something
empty.
cold and silent and empty. I think that would be a real great heartbreaking end to the story.
Paul Bettany, Pall, Paul Bettany. Okay.
No, all empty.
Insert the
will be
cricket
him
noises
after.
there.
Wait, what?
After he turns stone cold, he'll be called all empty.
All empty. Okay. Do you think he's going to be a weapon, or do you think he's just going to be dead?
That's a good question. I mean, it depends on what they do with Sword. Obviously, it seems like they're opening up the multiverse thing to all these other encounters with people from all over the universe and the multiverse. So maybe he'll be. I don't think he'll care. Maybe he'll just go back into storage and be like, till the next. Paul Bettany's like, till the next time you need me. See ya.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Back
All
on the
right.
I'll be
iPod
there.
charging dark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Kirsten, what do you think?
I blew my load on the Ultron thing, but I got more. I can generate more. I'm good on my feet. I think when she expanded the borders of Westview, she actually created mutants, much like how we saw Monica Rambeau's DNA being altered. It kind of bums me out if that's how she ends up becoming Photon or whatever her other million aliases are, because I also would really like to see her as Captain Marvel. So we'll see what happens there. But I think she's actually creating mutants, and then for some goddamn reason, there's a rift. I'm blaming Doctor Strange per usual.
Yeah.
Thanks, Obama. Thanks, Doctor Strange. That he either has something to do with it. There's a rift in the multiverse, and we're getting all the Fox X-Men mutants, and that's going to marry into the mutants that Wanda created. And then I think Ultron has something to do with it. And I also think that Sword is still being controlled by Hydra, like Shield was. So I think there's a whole other thing they're going to spin off there, because my trust has been broken since watching The Mandalorian and realizing that season 2 is basically just a setup for like 10 other shows.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So they're all about the big picture, and I think that's what's gonna.
I think
this is just
I think
setting things up.
I think there's one aspect that hasn't really been taken into account is this entire last year of all these Marvel movies that usually would come out in such a strategic point where, there was a Black Widow movie that has been pushed back, and the Eternals movie, which was pushed back, and the Eternals especially are about this really super deep history of the Marvel universe that explains superheroes and gods, and it brings all of these characters from the cosmos back into Earth, but from from millennia ago. They often explain mutants and the deviants and the Inhumans, and have all these little like DNA strands of what the Marvel universe was going to become. And I think they've probably had to either retool or reconfigure what they've wanted to do. And I think if WandaVision had come out right around now, just after the Eternals was slated to come out, a few months ago, I bet there'd be things that would be kind of recontextualized. So that's I'm interested into that expansion and the creation of mutants that way. That's very interesting.
Yeah, they had to pause filming on WandaVision. I wonder once they figured out when things were going to be released, if they had to do some retooling during WandaVision, during the filming
Yeah.
of it, just to make it fit. But here's this, everyone. This is I don't have any money to pretend to bet on this. These are the main points. I think Hydra is controlling Sword and is trying to get Vision back, and Ultron's involved somehow. I think Mephisto. I hope to God we have a flaming
You just want the
homosexual
devil.
devil.
I want a
I
hot
need
gay
my
devil.
gay representation. And then we're gonna get the Fox X-Men universe in, and possibly have Wanda creating mutants in the meantime. And we all know that's Agatha Harkness, and things aren't going to end well
Yeah.
for her. So nice knowing you, Catherine Hahn.
What I am excited, based on the ending of the last week's episode with the circus, is that Tim Burton will be directing the next episode, because clowns.
But Monica Rambeau's in it. He doesn't like
Oh,
people of color.
oh my God! I didn't know
Gonna
that.
recast Monica Rambeau with Johnny
Would
Depp.
it be
It'll
so
fine.
ironic because he has that
Helena
quote about the
Bonham
Brady
Carter.
Bunch? He's all like, I liked it. I like the Brady Bunch, and not when they used to make it too political by bringing in people that aren't white.
Burton said that?
Yeah.
I'd never
She'll
heard
ruin
that.
everybody for you. Don't listen
I
to her.
will.
Oh well, okay.
But you will
All right.
never take away my flaming homosexual devil.
Oh, he's got to be in it. Devil is also in Star Wars, isn't he? In the Cantina Band, there's just a devil, just
Yeah.
a devil
Just
sitting,
hanging out there.
just sitting there next to a gorilla with horns.
Oh, and please bring Howard Duck in at some point.
Yeah,
You don't just tease that in
Pet Avengers.
Infinity War.
Pet Avengers.
Pet
Right there.
Avengers.
Howard could be part
Oh,
of Pet
you're right.
Avengers. So you mentioned the devil, and Jeff, you didn't ask me for my theory. Thank you, Jeff.
Sorry, dude.
I think that Dottie is actually Mephisto.
I was wondering where she'd been since
Ooh.
breaking that glass.
Yeah, we haven't.
Okay.
We haven't seen her. She was last seen in the Bewitched type episode, talking about how everything was for the children, even though there were no children at the time
There was a
in Westview.
flash of her in the third one.
Oh, was there?
When Wanda created all those supernatural things because she was in labor. And it
Oh,
was really short cutaway thing where she's like, "Did the lights go out?" And her husband's sitting there. Oh, she was saying, "Do these earrings make me look fat?" That's what it was.
that's right.
And the lights went out, and it's her husband's like, "Oh, thank God."
Didn't know that. That's just my theory. Is that Dottie is just, there's something really odd about her, and I think that she may be the person pulling all the strings, and it makes sense if that's who it is. It's Mephisto. That's all.
Very interesting. This is the most Virginia Woolf of a sitcom that I've ever seen. There's these very beautiful, brilliant people who have an amazing amount of weaponry to fire at each other, and Vision and Wanda going at each other is one of the most enjoyable things that I've seen. And I love it when they are Rob and Laura Petrie, and I love it when they are Lucy and Ricky, but I love it when they're Vision and Wanda kind of going head to head too, and that we've been able to see all of that stuff in this series. It's been so pleasing for me. I also love I'm employed by a major entertainment company that is represented by a mouse as their mascot, and so I've been enjoying this cathode blast of all their culture coming through my TV. But one of my favorite things is putting cinema actors like Paul Bettany and Elizabeth Olsen on the small screen and then having them do this kind of confectionery acting where they're silly, 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 and then all of a sudden being movie actors is so fucking cool, because Paul Bettany can go from being the goofy, dumb husband to turn around and have so much like seething underlying energy into it. It's like knocks me over because I go, oh yeah, he's a real fucking movie actor. That stuff has been awesome. That's
The
what I
MCU
like.
has been great about that, bringing in like, I'm surprised Meryl Streep hasn't shown up.
Oh
yet.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I'm surprised by the kind of, I mean, I'm sure money has something to do with it, but I'm
Mhm.
sure that there are also fans too, just who they've been able to pull in.
Yeah, you've got Tilda Swinton playing absolutely a wrong character so well. Like she's just brings so much realness and gravitas and everything to that. So just or Benedict Cumberbatch in that stupid goatee and wig, but just making it all work so well.
Jack
How
Nicholson
many
is
fandoms
Mephisto.
is he involved in now? Like every single one?
Yeah, I feel like Hugo Weaving has him topped because he's Lord of the
No, Hugo
Rings.
Weaving's a bottom for sure.
Your devil is going to top Hugo
I
Weaving.
think that's what I'm thinking, and it's going to be a Mephisto, but it's going to
Oh
be
my-
spelled differently.
He's going to get some Red Skull.
Gonna
Oh,
get Mephisted.
he's going to Mephisto. Yes, we've come to this. We've come to this.
I'm
If
sorry,
they-
it
if
always
they-
comes to this.
Just
I'm
It
sorry.
bringing him down to our level. Just-
If they can,
Cynthia,
if they can,
what do you think is going to happen?
yeah.
I'm really interested to see who the missing person is that Jimmy Woo said there. You know, when he came in looking for the person that tipped him off to the whole
Hmm.
phenomenon.
Is it Ralph? I believe it's Ralph who is the
Agnes's husband.
Agnes's husband that we've never seen. That's a theory.
And Ralph was like the one of the aliases of Mephisto too, I think, in the comics.
Oh, he was? Oh.
Mhm. If I
Okay.
remember correctly. Don't
While
quote
we're
me.
in the Disney Plus realm, has anybody seen Earth to Ned? Does anybody watch that? Earth to Ned?
No.
No.
It's like if the Henson Company put on Jiminy Glick. It's kind of this character is this kind of hapless goofball alien trying to be a talk show host.
Yes.
You had me. You
I
had me
have
at
seen
Jiminy
it.
Glick.
You have seen it?
Yes.
Yes.
It was fantastic.
Yes. I
Yes.
set my bar so low coming in thinking, this is going to be the stupidest thing. And these goofy characters and just the kind of the B-list of Hollywood that comes and sits on the couch. Like clearly they were doing a voice for a Pixar cartoon and somebody said, hey, come here, come around this corner. Hey, sit down on this couch. You're in a show now. And it's just delightful because it just feels, for me, it feels like the kind of goofiness that Henson had way back in the day in a talk show format. And I freaking love it. Sidebar.
It's so well done. I think I was talking to you about it, Kirsten. I was like, if our podcast can be half as good as this show, then we're made. We're
I
done.
do remember that. I thought you usually reference Space Ghosts.
Oh,
Oh yeah.
yeah.
So you get it to that
I
level.
did the Space Ghost rewatch. Oh my God. And that's the thing that Space Ghost invented Adult Swim, essentially. It was kind of like let's take some leftovers.
I think marijuana invented it.
Yeah, I think
also.
marijuana. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we got $40. The bong's full. Let's make some cartoons. So Masters
Oh
of
wait,
the
speaking
Obvious.
of which,
Yes.
speaking of Adult Swim, Robot Chicken is animating the MODOK
Oh, wow.
show.
Yeah.
I'm really excited about that with Patton Oswalt in it.
Is that on Hulu or is that on Plus? I forget where that's gonna
Wow,
go.
that's a good question.
I think it might be on Hulu or
I
something.
feel like
Yeah.
Hulu gets most of the cartoons, so that would make sense. But it feels like a Disney. But does Disney have other
I don't know if it's
their
gonna
stuff on
be.
other streaming services?
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. Well,
They
Disney
do.
owns
Okay.
Hulu, so
Hulu. It is Hulu.
yeah,
I can
What?
confirm this.
yeah.
Yes.
Disney has majority holdership in Hulu, so
I'm
that's
gonna
where
check
they.
my underwear to make sure that it's not also Disney. The back of my shirt, all my gym clothes.
All right, dude. So thank you so much for chatting with us. I don't know how much more conjecture we can get out of this. Probably a lot based on how much people are talking about on the internet. But I appreciate us. I appreciate us, who we are together. Let's keep
Beautiful.
this sacred space. Thanks so much for taking your time. I know you just got back from a trip, Cynthia, so you're probably jet lagged and tired and all that kind of stuff. And Kirsten, you have
She moved.
you moved?
Mhm.
How do you have stuff on the wall already if you just moved?
Oh, I'm renting somebody's condo. This is not my place.
Okay. And Kirsten, I know you have 47 kids, so I know you're.
Oh, 48 just now.
Oh, girl!
Literally just had one.
I'm so good at it. You don't even notice
Ga-
when I'm having them.
Gay Devil knocked her up so quick. She had
Gay-
Rosemary's Baby just right there in the seat.
Sure did.
God, that's one thing I am not looking forward to is like the elitist, not elitist, but like the kind of the right wing. If a Mephisto is entered, if like Marvel introduces a literal devil into like
Oh,
things of like the nonsensical uproar that will come out and be
Yeah.
bandied about by
PMRC, Chipper Gore.
yeah,
But-
the
but
fill in the
then
blank.
But then Ben Shapiro could do like a superhero Jesus.
And then Gina
combat
Carano
it.
could be on it.
Gina
It'd be
Carano
this
That's
whole
right.
thing.
Gina Carano could play superpowered Jesus.
I can't
Right.
believe between Bill Burr and Gina Carano,
She got axed first.
She's the one, yeah.
That is so surprising. All right,
Well,
duders.
It seems like Bill Burr actually develops as a person, and I don't think Gina does.
Yeah. Okay, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you for talking
I'm
to
gonna go
us.
throw up because I just defended Bill Burr.
Yeah,
Thank you for talking to us.
That's a shocker of the week right there.
I appreciate it. People can find your podcast where? Answer's probably everywhere, right?
In your underwear,
In your underwear.
when you least expect it, there's a hot breath on your neck. You can go to mastersoftheobvious.com. You can stream it on there. You can stream it on every podcast platform, Apple, Spotify. And you can find us on Masters of the Obvious on Instagram and on Facebook and Masters of the O on Twitter. And I swear to God, I'll be back on there and you're going to regret the day that I did return because I have no self-control when it comes to social media.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It has been a pleasure. Michael, Richard, I know normally at the end of their Mount Rushmore, we decide which is going on, which Mount Rushmore choices are being etched on the mountain. I don't know if we're
Jeff, get out of this. We don't decide anything. You decide all.
I decided, and it's just going to be the devil. It's just going to be
Oh, God.
Mephisto. That's it.
Gay devil.
Gay devil. Maybe 4 of them. Just flaming
Just
up.
him.
It's just him. Just
Four
him.
hymns.
Standing
Poor
proud.
hymns.
I think you should just call this episode Diversity Hires.
Like we should absolutely do it. Thank you for listening to the Diversity Hires episode of the Mount Rushmore.
Because Cynthia's a pygmy. I'm a gay woman. It's perfect.
This is perfect. We're checking so many boxes here.